The Fox and the Grapes, a classic fable about determination and wisdom. Once upon a time, in the heart of a sunny countryside, lived a fox named Felix, known for his quick wit and adventurous spirit. But on this particular day, Felix wasn't feeling clever or adventurous. He was simply hungry. His stomach growled like a thunderstorm, reminding him of how long it had been since his last meal. The forest, usually buzzing with life and opportunities for a snack, felt eerily quiet. The rabbits were hiding, the berries were scarce, and even the streams where fish sometimes leaped were still and silent. Felix's tail drooped as he wandered aimlessly, his sharp eyes scanning for the slightest sign of food. Then, as he rounded a bend in the dusty path, a sweet, tantalizing aroma tickled his nose. Felix's ears perked up, and his nose quivered with curiosity. "What is that delightful smell?" he murmured, sniffing the air. Following the scent, he soon came upon a tall stone wall covered in ivy. Peeking through the vines, Felix's eyes widened in astonishment. Beyond the wall lay a vineyard, and hanging from the trellises were the most magnificent grapes Felix had ever seen. They were plump and juicy, their deep purple skin glistening in the sunlight. They seemed to shimmer as if whispering, "Come and taste us, Felix." "Oh, what a feast this would be!" Felix exclaimed, licking his lips. "These grapes are fit for a king or a very hungry fox." Felix wasted no time. He scanned the wall for a way in, but the stones were smooth and there were no gaps big enough for him to squeeze through. "No matter," Felix thought, puffing out his chest. "I'll simply jump and grab them." He took a few steps back, crouched low, and leaped into the air with all his might. His paws stretched out toward the dangling grapes, but he missed by a whisker and landed with a thud on the ground. Felix muttered, brushing dust off his fur. "I must not have jumped high enough. I'll try again." This time, he backed up even farther and dashed forward with all his speed. He launched himself into the air, twisting and reaching as high as he could. But once again, the grapes were just out of reach. Felix landed in a heap, his ears drooping in frustration. "All right," Felix growled, narrowing his eyes at the grapes. "I'll need to be clever about this." Felix looked around and spotted some nearby rocks. "Aha! I'll stack these stones to make myself taller," he said, wagging his tail with excitement. He began rolling the rocks into a pile, carefully balancing one on top of the other. When his tower was complete, Felix climbed to the top, his tail wagging with triumph. He leaped from the top of his rock pile, confident that this time he would reach the grapes. But as he stretched his paws toward the fruit, the rocks beneath him wobbled and toppled. Felix tumbled to the ground in a cloud of dust and disappointment. Felix lay on the ground for a moment, staring up at the grapes that swayed gently in the breeze, as if mocking him. He let out a deep sigh and muttered, "Perhaps I need more speed and power." Determined not to give up, Felix decided to climb a nearby tree that leaned over the vineyard. "If I can get high enough, I can leap from the tree and grab the grapes midair," Felix thought. His claws dug into the bark as he climbed higher and higher, the promise of the sweet grapes fueling his efforts. Reaching the highest branch, Felix steadied himself. The grapes were tantalizingly close now, just one daring leap away. With a deep breath, Felix launched himself from the tree, soaring through the air. But once again, the grapes were just out of reach. He landed in the soft grass, his pride bruised more than his body. As the sun began to dip toward the horizon, Felix's energy waned. His stomach growled louder, and his legs ached from all the jumping and climbing. He gazed up at the grapes one last time, his heart heavy with defeat. "Well," Felix muttered, forcing a nonchalant shrug, "those grapes are probably sour anyway. Who would want to eat such sour grapes?" With that, Felix turned away from the vineyard and padded back toward the forest, trying to convince himself that he didn't really want the grapes. But deep down, he knew the truth. He had wanted them more than anything. As Felix disappeared into the trees, a little bird perched on the wall chirped softly to herself. "Oh, Felix," she said with a knowing smile, "it's not that the grapes were sour, It's that they were worth trying for. Sometimes, the sweetest things in life take more than one day to reach. The next morning, Felix woke with renewed determination. Maybe those grapes weren't sour after all, he thought. Maybe I just need a better plan. This time, instead of relying on quick fixes like jumping or piling rocks, Felix decided to work smarter. He spent the day building a sturdy ladder from fallen branches and vines, carefully tying the pieces together with precision. It wasn't easy, and Felix's paws grew tired from all the knot tying. But by evening, his ladder was ready. With the ladder in place, Felix climbed steadily toward the grapes. His heart pounded with excitement as he reached the top. Finally, he plucked one of the plump, juicy grapes and popped it into his mouth. The sweet, refreshing taste was everything he had imagined and more. Felix couldn't help but smile as he carried a small bunch of grapes back to the forest. The grapes weren't sour at all, he said to himself. They were just waiting for me to figure out the right way to reach them.